Hey guys, in this video, we're going to continue from where we started. So if you have Python installed, you can check whether you have Python installed. So I'm going to pull up my terminal and say Python, and I have Python 3.9.2 installed. Now, one of the things you will have done while installing Python is to add Python to your path. And by typing that command, that is a clear indication that we installed Python and it is in our path. Now, another important thing that will help you to work with me is I have a variety of extensions that I may install that may enable you to work smoothly in this tutorial. So I'll go to the extensions tab and then click and say Python. So you will need to have installed a Python extension for Visual Studio Code. This helps you to code, it gives you auto completion, it helps you also give you documentations, code formatting and refactoring, and more. Now, apart from that, you also need a tool that will help you to write templates. It's called Janeiro. So the beauty with this, it helps you to write templates while dealing with templates. Now, without further ado, let's get started setting up our dev environment. So to set up our dev environment, we shall open a folder anywhere on your machine. I usually have a coding folder, so I'm going to open my coding folder, and then I'm going to create a folder which I'm going to call Flask application series. So once the folder is created, I'm going to select the folder and open it up within Visual Studio Code. Now the next thing is to create a virtual environment which helps you to separate your project specific requirements from the packages that are within your system. Now to do that, I'm going to create a virtual environment by opening my terminal. So I'll go to terminal and say new terminal. In this case, I am using Git Bash, which comes with installing Git in Windows. So once I have my terminal, I'm going to create my virtual environment by saying Python tacm then venv, and my environment is going to be called, let me call it appenv. So what this virtual environment is going to do is simply to make sure that our application is separate from all the dependencies of our application are separate from all of those that are within our system. Now after my virtual environment has been created, the first thing I'm going to do is to activate it. Now, activating a virtual environment is dependent on which operating system you may use. There are various ways you can do that. For Windows, you can use it also depends on the shell you're using. Now, since I'm using Bash, I'm going to use source appenv slash. In that, I'll look for the scripts folder and then look for a file called activate. So this file is going to activate my virtual environment, and I'm going to be shown just up here that the virtual environment has been created. Now another thing we are going to do is to install Flask. So I'm going to say pip install Flask. And what this is going to do is going to install Flask within our virtual environment. Now the next thing will be to create a requirements.txt file that will help us to keep track of every dependency that our project may have. So what I'm going to do is to say pip freeze, then I'm going to point to requirements.txt, and I'm going to enter. So if I go and check this file out, I'll see that all my project dependencies are installed within this file. So Flask depends on Click, Flask, It's Dangerous, Ginger Tool, Markup Safe, and Waxlog. These are what help you to create web applications. So let's create our first Python app. So within my folder, my project folder, I'm going to create a file which I'm going to call app.py. It doesn't really matter which name you give to the file. I'm going to give mine app.py. Now the next thing will be to start coding our first app. So we're going to begin by saying from Flask import Flask, and we're going to say app is equal to Flask. We're going to create an instance of the Flask class, and after creating this, what we're going to do is to create our route. So we're going to say at app.route, and we're going to give it the root route, and we're going to define a view function. So we're going to say def index, and what we're going to return is hello world. Now to run our application, we'll have to say if underscore name is equal to underscore main. We're going to say app.run. Now this is just enough to create our first Python application using Flask. So to run this, we're going to go to our terminal. I'm going to clear my terminal by pressing Ctrl L, and I'm going to run my app by saying python app.py, and this is going to start a development server that's going to run on port 5000. So I'm going to click on this link by saying Ctrl and click, and this is going to open up in our web browser. So if I navigate to the web browser, I'm having my app at localhost 5000. This IP address stands for localhost. We can even type it as localhost 5000, and it will still give us hello world. Now let's take a look at what we have done. The first thing we have done is to import a Flask class, and on the next line we created a variable called app that stands for the Flask instance. This Flask instance takes in the import name, and this is like the most important line on our app. It helps us to route to the root route, which is slash. We also created a view function that helps us to get a request and then return a response. So in this case, we are returning a string with a word hello world, and after that we have our condition that helps us to run our app. So in this tutorial, we have been able to set up our Python development environment. We have created a virtual environment that helps us to separate our project from the rest of our system. We have also created a requirements.txt file that is going to enable us to keep track of our application's dependencies, and then we created our app. So this shows you how easy it is to create web applications with the Flask framework. If you feel you like this video, please drop a like and share this video with someone. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe so as to be able to know when I drop in more content. Thanks for watching.